Okay, great. My name is Jenna Nilo. I am with Illinois Digital Educators Alliance, and we're here today with our partner Clever, and specifically Katie Ginsberg from Clever, and she's going to talk to us about navigating your new Clever portal as we start out the school year. Just a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and put them in the chat window, and I will be monitoring that for Katie, although she's really good at doing it herself. And I will interrupt when it's appropriate and get those questions in there for you with Katie. Otherwise, like I said, she'll do it and get them in herself. We also will have a question and answer period at the end of the session, at which time you can go ahead and ask any questions then as well. Also, if you are looking for your Illinois PDHs, if you stay till the end of the webinar today, in the chat window, I will post the link for the PDHs, and that link will be available for until midnight tonight. So go ahead and click it right away, log in your time here, and then we'll send you back and forth the paperwork for logging those PDHs for you. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Katie. I am going to actually turn off my video and mute myself because I have got one heck of a head cold and it ain't pretty to look at or listen to. So I'm going to do both those things and let Katie get started. Thanks.
Hi everyone, this is Katie. Thank you so much, Jenna. I hope you feel better. I'm so sorry you're not feeling well. Let's dive into the presentation though. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. As Jenna mentioned, we're going to be talking about the Clever Teacher Portal, what you can do with it, and how you can use it to set up resources and help manage your classroom. So let's dive right in. A couple other housekeeping things. Jenna already mentioned that this is being recorded. We'll make sure to get your recording if you want one after. As she also mentioned as well, definitely ask us questions during this. I'll do my best to answer either verbally or I'll write to you in the chat box as well. And then finally, definitely stay connected with us. Tweet at Clever. You can use these hashtags, tweet at IDEA as well. We love to see you guys responding on Twitter, and I really love working with IDEA, so great to see that in Twitter as well. Jenna already introduced herself, but just for reference, my name is Katie Ginsberg. I am a District Success Manager here at Clever. I work with districts in the Midwest. So yeah, spending a lot of time in the Midwest lately, which has been really fun. And I basically help make sure that you guys are all using Clever as effectively as possible. So here's what we're going to be talking about today more specifically. We're going to be going over what Clever does generally. Then we're going to dive in and talk about the teacher portal, which if you've been logging in a lot recently, you might have noticed that it's a little bit different than it was in the past. We're then going to talk about kind of the two really most important aspects of your Clever portal, how it can be used to support your students, and then how it can be used to manage your classroom. And then finally, we're going to take some time for questions and answers. But as I said, definitely feel free to ask questions as we go through. If there are any of you guys out there who don't know what Clever is, I'm going to talk right now about what exactly it is and what we do and how does Clever work. So Clever is your end-to-end solution for your account provisioning and single sign-on needs. So before, you can see we have this lovely design, and there's lots of different resources out there, and people were spending a lot of time and a lot of energy and resources trying to get them all set up. Through Clever, we connect with your student information system, and we can make it really easy for accounts to be set up. That was the first thing that Clever did. We started as a company in 2012, and we were really just focused on rostering. We actually more recently moved into single sign-on in the past few years, I want to say, because we realized that if we're already setting up all these accounts, why not just log in through Clever as well? So that's something we've been working on, And it's really become this big vision of making sure that Clever is the place where anyone from the district level, teachers, students, school level administrators, they can go to Clever and see all of those resources that they need in their day-to-day. So it's kind of our macro vision and what we want to provide. But, you know, if some of you have been with us for a little bit longer, you might have noticed, like, wow, we have a lot more teacher features available, and that's definitely true. We really did start here with just helping administrators, you know, in the back office, and now we want to be in the forefront with everyone. I talked a little bit about this, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. What we do for the rostering is you will either send us, or we have some automated ways of going in, grabbing your data from your student information system. We house it in Clever, and then we make it really easy for your learning applications to get that data and set up accounts for students, teachers, staff, whoever needs them. And that is done through the Clever API. So that's kind of what we do generally, but what can teachers actually do in Clever? And my answer to this, so I've been at Clever for over 2 years now, and my answer to this 2 years ago would have been maybe help students log in, but that has changed dramatically in the 2 years that I've been here. So now what Clever provides for teachers is access. So on the first, you know, basic thing, we provide access and single sign-on into any application that you're using. We provide you the ability to organize your resources and also to search for your resources. We also provide support. So we're helping you help your students. If students can't log in, we have ways for you to help your students get logged in. You can make Clever badges from your teacher pages, and you can actually see if students are actually in Clever and logged in and using the applications that they should be. And then finally, we have classroom resources. These are ways that you can actually set up resources for your students through Clever. So this is what the Clever login teacher page and teacher portal will look like. If you are available, or if you can right now, I would definitely recommend logging into your Clever account and following along. We're going to show you a lot of things that you can do within your portal, so definitely go ahead and get yourself logged in if you can. But yeah, this is the general login page. You might on yours see Google or Active Directory, but this is what you'll see when you log in. So you can see different pages, you'll see all your resources in one place, and then a sidebar that has a lot of different tools to allow you to explore Clever. Also, just a quick thing to note is make sure you've downloaded the Clever browser extension. Always a good thing to have. Some resources actually depend on using that to allow for single sign-on. Okay, so that's Clever, that's what it does, and a little bit about what we do for teachers, but let's really dive into the teacher portal and talk about what's available in that teacher portal. So what tools are available to you and what can you do? So I just showed you a picture earlier of what the Clever teacher portal can look like, but this is obviously a much bigger one. So you'll notice, and this is a very big difference from how things were in the past in Clever teacher portals. There's now 3 tabs, one homeroom, one library, and one classes. So if you were using Clever in the past, the classes tab will look very familiar to you. It is where you can see all of your students, the classes they're in, and you can do a lot from that page. But this first page should look pretty different. And this is the homeroom page. It's now our jumping off point for teachers in Clever. So at the top of the homeroom page, you're going to see at least 3 different pages. A page that's only visible to you, so it's where you as a teacher can store your resources, right? If you're working with some links that you need, you can put them in here, but that's not necessarily something you're sharing with students. In Mr. Kelly's class, this would be usually your first initial last name. You can actually rename this page. I'll go into that a little bit later. But you have a class that, you have a page that you can share with your class. So you can make it viewable for your class. Let's say you're teaching more than one class, you're a science and mathematics teacher, you can set up 2 different pages and share them with just the classes that need them, and then set up resources for those classes. But don't worry, I'll talk about that a lot in detail later. And then your district page these are all of the resources that have been set up by a district level administrator. And you can see here it's differentiated resources added by you, and then later there's resources added by your district. The library as well is pretty new, that came out last year. This is a place for you to, and if you click on it, you can see this is what it looks like. The library is a place for teachers to add applications to their classrooms. We have about 100 applications that have built what we call library integrations with us. If you decide to install a library application to your teacher portal, your students will actually have accounts set up for them through Clever. Another cool thing you can do, just kind of in terms of organization, is you can add favorites. It's really easy to favorite an icon in your portal. It'll just jump to the top. Those are obviously the things you're using most often. It's also very easy to unfavorite it. Let's say you don't want to, just click on it again and it'll go out of that favorites category. Students can do this as well, and that's why we made it so easy to unfavorite. Let's say a student decides to favorite everything, you can very easily just move it all back if they're confused. Another great thing that we just added, and this is a new update, is the ability to search. So you can see in this search bar here, we call it Omni Search, which means you can search for applications, you can search for students, anything that's in your teacher portal, you can search for it using that search bar. You can even search for applications that haven't been added yet, and you'll be taken to the library. You will also say in that search bar, let's say you are looking for an application, how you can add that application to Clever. So is it available for single sign-on? Is it just a link? It will actually tell you that information really quickly. Okay, cool. So that's a little bit more about the teacher portal, what it looks like, what's new. Let's talk more specifically about how you can support students in Clever. And, haven't gotten any questions yet, but if there are any, please, don't hesitate to start typing them out. So let's talk a little bit about how teachers can help students use their applications in Clever. This is our big thing. This is why Clever is here, is we want to make sure that teachers and students are getting into their applications as seamlessly as possible. So when that's not happening, we're losing time in the classroom, and we're here to make sure that you are losing as little time as possible. We also want to make sure that students are kept on task and make it really easy for you to determine that. And also a big thing for us, of course, is security, making sure that students aren't accidentally accessing each other's accounts. Maybe they're doing it on purpose, I don't know. But we've made that pretty difficult for them. So one thing, we have a few different features available that teachers can use to manage or help their students stay secure and safe in the internet. They can log an entire class out. They can also launch an application for an entire class, making sure that students aren't clicking on everything and opening everything all at once. They're directed exactly to the resource that they need. And then they're also given tools to troubleshoot student logins. So if a student can't log in, we have ways of getting that student, or I'm sorry, I should say, we have given teachers ways to allow students to get in. This is the classes tool. You can see here, you still have these three options. We're in the classes tool right now. You can see at the bottom here, it says status in Clever. Bobby and Rebecca are not logged in. So teachers can actually tell that once they do log in, that will actually change. But now the teacher knows maybe Bobby needs some help logging in, maybe Rebecca does as well, maybe they lost their passwords, maybe they're talking, who knows. But at least the teacher can tell them right here that they're not even trying to access their resources right now. You'll also notice next to this, it says log a class out. So that will log the entire class out of Clever all at once. You'll also see the select an application to launch. If a teacher clicks on that button, that application will open for all students in the class. So they're directly on task right away. Also in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see it download a class set of badges. If badges are enabled for your grade level, and that's something that is managed at the district level, teachers can actually print badges for all of their students all at once. So really helpful. If anyone is sort of at the administrative level here, this is a great way to kind of allow teachers to handle their own badges. For teachers, it's a great way to get creative, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but a lot of tools right here for you. We also have very similar features in the pages. We saw teacher pages earlier. If you click on those, you can see that there are a kind of a similar page. You have your class page with applications and also the login status of the students. So if you click on a student name here, you can actually print an individual badge, again, if badges are enabled for this student. You can create a backup login code if the student really can't get in. And then for certain types, if you have certain types of login methods set up, you can actually have the teacher reset the passwords. And then finally, you can see student information, such as like parent contact email, grade, things like that. So this is really helpful tool. If you click on Login Tools, you will also there be able to print a class set of badges. So we have these in two places, and it's kind of up to you where you'd want to use most of your do most of your troubleshooting. I would recommend kind of moving towards using Pages, because I think that's going to be a more comprehensive work environment. You might have heard. So that's all I'm going to say about the general troubleshooting tools. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit more about badges specifically. So maybe you've seen QR codes at your school, students using these QR codes to log into Clever, maybe other applications. But what are they exactly? So Clever badges are a really simple way for students to log in. We generally recommend using them for grades PK to second. And we've also seen some really wonderful successes using them with students that are maybe have challenges typing, stuff like that, even at the older grades. So all you do is kind of like this illustration is showing is you click on, hold your badge up to a camera, or you click on the badge login, so sorry. If you're a student, you hold your badge up to the camera and you will be logged into Clever immediately. So that is, so that is what that will look like, very simple. I mentioned that teachers can print them out, as they can also be printed out at a school or at a district level as well. Clever badges are safe. They're all unique logins. The QR code is unique to each student. And if you want to have older students using them as well, you can have an additional PIN. So essentially the badge is functioning as a username and the PIN would be the password. This is a nice way to transition students into using a username and password. And we would probably recommend that 3rd and 4th grade. For certain devices, if you have Windows and you're using Active Directory Federated Services or Chromebooks, we can actually set up Clever. So when a student opens up the machine or turns on the machine, they hold up their badge and they are logged into both Clever and into the device all at once. And then they just are one click away from their learning applications. So this is really, really powerful. Thinking about those youngest students, maybe kindergartners, trying to remember their passwords, trying to remember their emails maybe to type in. Don't worry about that. Just go ahead, set up Clever badges, and you will definitely cut down on that login time in the classroom. And then finally, I mentioned it's easy to manage. It can be managed at different levels. So at the highest level, a district administrator can print them out for everyone, right? And it is up to the district level people to decide what grades should get badges by default. Schools can also print out badges for their schools, but like I mentioned, teachers can print them out for their own classes. Teachers can also print out, let's say, a dog, my dog ate my badge. Teachers can actually print out backup badges for their students as well.
Hey, Katie, it sounds like this is a relevant question. Somebody wrote, I'm the technology teacher and see the whole school. My rosters all have the same name, Learning Technology. Is there some way to change the name so I know which class is which?
So that's a good question. It's a little bit dependent on which SIS you're using. I would need to look up I guess if you wouldn't mind looks like Leonard, I believe, messaging me privately what school district you're from and what SIS you're using, because we definitely have some options, but it's going to be a little bit nitty-gritty, if that's okay. Okay. But yeah, the long and short of it is, yes, we can do that, but that's something that we'll have to set up at the district level. Okay, so how do teachers create badges for their students? I mentioned that this can be done in the teacher pages. So you can click on an individual student, and you can see there you can either download a badge or void a badge for that student. You know, the dog ate my badge example. You also, where it says login tools, have the option to print a badge for the entire classroom. Badges, when you do print them out, they're either a PDF or a PNG file. So really you can customize them and make them whatever you want. You can see in this example, this teacher has made these really adorable illustrations and then put the badges on the back and then put that on a key ring. So really cute and really helpful. You know, this teacher can go around and get everyone logged in. Another kind of my favorite teacher creative badge story is this one teacher put all of the students' badges on like sweatbands, like headbands. So the students would like open up their Chromebook and then kind of look in the camera and kind of bob their heads to log in, which is very cute if you think about a bunch of kindergartners doing that. So it allows for a lot of creativity, and it allows teachers to manage their classrooms how they see fit, which is really exciting. But because of this, it also really allows for a lot of time saved in the classroom and a lot of efficiency. So a great example of this is I was working with some teachers actually out in Pennsylvania, and they used their badges to log kids into a program that they needed for their language lab. So what they did was they took the QR codes and they put them on Tupperware, like Ziploc, Tupperware containers. Then what they would do is they would put the students' headphones in the Tupperware. So when a student, they, file into the language lab, they grab their Tupperware, put on their headphones, they hold the Tupperware up to the camera, they're logged into their account, and they're learning, within 2-3 minutes of entering the classroom. So really efficient, really creative, and allowed them to kind of meet their needs. Okay, fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about classroom management. So how can teachers actually manage their classrooms in Clever? I spoke a little bit about the library earlier, and that's going to be a big way that teachers can do that, but also through teacher pages. So let's dive in and see, what those are. These are teacher pages in the Clever library are super new. So if you've been in Clever for a while, this is definitely a big change for you. We want to allow teachers a way to get everything that they need and everything their students need in one place. So you go to Clever and you're done. Everything's there that you need. I mentioned before teacher pages. If you're teaching lots of different classes, I'll back up and say by default, you have 3 teacher pages, one that's personal for you, and that can kind of just be to store your own day-to-day stuff. One that by default, we just create one, for your class, and then one that's the district page. But let's say, I said earlier, let's say you're teaching a geometry class and 2 algebra classes, and you need actually different pages for all of those. You can create new pages. You can make your own images for them. You can call them whatever you want. And then you can make them visible to specific classes. So let's say you're teaching, you can see here kind of in the background here, it says Miss Patty's Algebra P2, Miss Patty's Geometry P6. So you can actually determine based on the classes that are coming to us, through our connection with your student information system, which classes should see which pages. So that is very customizable and easy to set up. What's helpful there is when you're actually, let's say, in your Algebra P2 class, you can see who's logged in and what resources they have available to them. I'm going to back up a second, actually, real quick, and say if you notice at the very bottom right-hand corner, it says the plus sign and add. If you click on that, and if you're following along, go ahead and click on that, you'll see there's the option to add a link, add a category, or add an app. So adding a category is, just kind of what it sounds like. You can see this person has this week's work block as a category, algebra general resources as a category. You can create as many of those as you want and call them whatever you want. And then it's very easy you can rearrange them, you can get rid of them. Very easy to customize this to what you think will work best for your classroom and for your students. Adding a link is just adding a URL. Great question. Alma, I will answer your question in 1 second. But yeah, adding a link or adding a URL, adding a link is just adding a URL. So you can add any link really to anything that you need, totally up to you. Oops. And then the last thing is add an application, and that's going to be through the Clever library, which I will talk about in 1 second. But it's actually going to set up it will set up accounts, and by it I mean Clever will set up accounts for your students based on what you've added. So let's talk about this real quick, and then I promise I will get to your question. Oh, never mind, Alma found it. I appreciate that, but I'll go through that as well. But yeah, so the Clever library, this is a little bit what it looks like. So you'll see here, if you click on library, you have all these different subjects, you have all these different applications. I think we have about 100 now, a little more than 100, that have made a library integration with us. If you click on an application, you'll see on the left-hand side, this is what it looks like. It will say install the application. If you have more than one class in Clever, it will actually ask you if you want to install the application for all of your classes or for just, 1 or 2. So let's say you're a technology teacher, but you also teach like a homeroom class and you just want code.org for your, computer science or technology class, you can do that. So your homeroom class, you would not set up accounts for them in code.org. Once you click install and pick your class, accounts are actually set up immediately for your students, and that's using a very small subset of information. It's using the first name, last initial, and the class that they're in. So we consider this to be not personally identifiable, making things really secure, and probably a lot easier than you having to go out and set up those accounts for students on your own. Hopefully 1 click is a little easier than that. But you can see we have all kinds of different resources, and your district can actually recommend resources that they would like you to use. So this is what the library looks like. Another really awesome thing about the library, there we go. Yeah, is you can review and upvote apps in the Clever library. So let's say you absolutely love a specific application. In this case, somebody loves Nearpod. You can leave, as a teacher, you can leave reviews in Clever and, let other teachers know what you liked and didn't like about this application. The only way to get into the Clever library is to be a teacher in Clever. So these are all verified reviewers. You cannot review an app unless we see that you have used it through Clever. So everyone, this is 100% verified. It's a great way to see what other people are doing and how they're managing their classrooms and get ideas for, cool things to do with your students. Okay, last kind of part of this is how can I learn more about Clever? Let me do something real quick though. Okay, so I want to make sure, just in case anyone else was wondering about Alma's question, how do I delete a page? Let me go ahead and show you real quick. Let me just share my desktop. Okay, so this is our demo account. What you would do is you can see if you hover over one of your pages, you'll see this little gear, you click on that, and then you can delete it. There are certain ones the only one you cannot delete is your district page. That cannot go away because those are resources set up for you by the district. That was a great question, thank you. I'm glad I could answer it. Okay, so how can I learn more about Clever? You might be asking yourself. The best way, in my opinion, to learn more about Clever is to use the Clever Academy. So the Clever Academy is brand new, it's really, really cool, and it has, I think now 4 different self-paced lessons that teachers can take to learn more about what they can do in Clever. By self-paced, I mean you can log in, maybe you don't finish a lesson, that's fine. Clever will remember where you're at, and you can just hop right back in when you're ready. We also give you guys how long we think the lesson will take. So I think the longest for teachers is about an hour, down to like 30-ish minutes. You can, if you go through, first of all, if you want to log in now, just go to clever.academy. If you finish the Clever Academy, you will actually become Clever certified. You'll get a badge you can put in your email signature or in your LinkedIn. And if you hurry and do it, we're actually giving, let me see. Oh yeah, so I'll talk about this in a second. But if you finish quickly, because we're starting to run out of tote bags, you can actually win one of these awesome tote bags. I guess a duffel bag. I really want one. I was told I could not have one. That's fine. So one of you guys should go get one. That would make me feel good. But anyway, so that's one cool thing you can do. But yeah, another cool thing is, like I mentioned, you get this certificate of completion, you get a badge, put that in your LinkedIn, in your email signature. Definitely something that can help with your own professional development, which is really exciting. So I would say, yeah, definitely if you can, your homework for this lesson is to go in and complete level 1. I think it'll take about an hour. The lessons get increasingly more, not complicated, but they go more into the super user and advanced tools that you have available to you in Clever. So it's an amazing tool. I would definitely recommend using it. Tell other teachers about it, and definitely make sure that by using the Clever Academy, you will make sure that you are getting the most out of Clever. So I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that. It is, like all things in Clever, totally provided without any cost. So definitely go get that duffel bag. All right, so here we are at the end of my presentation. I charged through that a little bit. So if anyone has questions, now's the time. I'll be, trying to answer them live. But some I will type in if it's too much. So anyway, thanks so much. I'm gonna start answering questions. Yeah, so Ben asked, you're talking about Clever badges. I know there are age restrictions. Is there planning plans on allowing specific groups of students to use Clever badge logins? I'm specifically thinking about students with special needs or something along those lines. Great question, Ben. So what we can actually do at Clever, and the age it's really hard to talk for this long. The age restrictions are set by somebody at a district level. They can also be set up for students who are designated as IEP or ELL. So a couple of things need to happen in Clever for that to be happening automatically. One is we have to have that information in Clever. Obviously, we need to know who is ELL and who, or who has an ELL designation and who has an IEP designation. That can be sent to us by your SIS. So then somebody at the district level will need to enable them to be part of badges just by default. So those are the two things that need to happen. Once they do, you can definitely do that. There's also a way that, district level admins can print out individual badges for those students as well. So if they don't want to send us IEP and ELL information, I totally understand. Somebody at the district level can actually go in, find a student, and print badges at an ad hoc basis. So there's two ways we can get set up there, but we can absolutely get them set up for special needs students. That's actually kind of part of the reason that they came to me in the first place. Okay, Courtney had a question about Freckle. It just opens, every time I try to add Freckle, it just opens another tab with the Freckle page. I don't see Freckle being added to my pages. That's interesting. Maybe that's something I can look at here. Okay, that's because we've already installed it, actually. So I guess what I would want to know from you, Courtney, is Oh, another good thing to note is, has Freckle already been added by your district? Because that could be explaining what's happening. If you want to send me a message with your district, I can also check that out for you. Okay, cool. So yeah, let me know. That's hard for me to diagnose just without knowing a little bit more. I apologize. I missed how to set up, so Alma asked, I missed how to set up the messaging with students. Can you repeat that one? So I'm not sure, there isn't a way for teachers to message students in Clever. People at the district level can send out announcements and set that up for, we call them portal announcements. So students, teachers, and staff could see announcements from people at the district level. But we don't actually have a way for teachers to message their students in Clever. If you want to let me know if I'm kind of missing the mark here, Alma, that would be great. If you're talking about this, you can see where students or teachers, can see if students have logged in or not. That's where something that they could do in their teacher page or in their class page. But yeah, there isn't, Clever does not provide messaging back and forth. You can definitely add applications that do messaging back and forth through Clever, though. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go into your teacher page and add that. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Oh, hello. I went too fast. Okay, anyone, any last questions before we head out?
Okay, then I guess I'll take over, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Really appreciate Katie's time. We always have very good webinars with Clever and Katie, super informative, so I hope you felt the same. Katie popped up there, and I don't know if it went away, Katie. We do have a webinar, another webinar coming up later in September, September 25th, from 4 to 5 p.m. with Bird Brain Technologies. So what's in a makerspace that is actually up on the IDEA Illinois website right now. So you can go ahead and register for that one if you'd like, and we would love to see you there. And they're intending on doing a cool live studio presentation on makerspaces. So they've got a whole new thing going over there at Bird Brain, so that should be pretty neat. Right now, I am going to go ahead and put into the group chat the link for your PDHs if you so desire. Please go ahead and click that link and fill that out. As I said, that PDH form will expire at midnight tonight. So go ahead and do that now, get your PDHs in there. And then tomorrow I will be emailing everybody with the recording from today's webinar. So you can feel free then to share that with any friends, families, colleagues, however you want to handle that. Go ahead and share that out, and that's it. So without further ado, if no one has any other questions, we'll let everybody start logging off and get on with your day. And we gave you, what did we give you here? 17 more minutes left or something like that. 18 more minutes maybe. So hope you have a good day. Thanks, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks with the Bird Brain one. Thank you.